It started like any other sunny morning on the Kelly Clarkson show. The theme that day was Women in the Spotlight, and the studio buzzed with excitement. Producers rushed around the stage, adjusting lights and microphones. Fans filled the seats, holding up phones, eager to capture every second. Kelly walked out with her usual charm and confidence, flashing her warm smile as the audience cheered. On the surface, everything looked normal, but no one in that studio knew they were about to witness one of the most talked-about moments in talk show history. Meghan Markle was the guest of honor that day. She was there to promote her new project, a podcast that she claimed would inspire women to speak their truth. It was a carefully planned appearance. Her team had chosen Kelly's show because of its friendly atmosphere and its reputation for positive, uplifting conversations. Meghan arrived dressed in a soft cream outfit that seemed chosen to project calm and grace. The cameras caught her every move as she waved and smiled, walking toward the set where Kelly stood ready to greet her. The two women exchanged polite smiles and a brief hug as the applause filled the room. Kelly, known for her kindness and southern charm, began with friendly compliments. She praised Meghan's work, her projects, and her journey from Hollywood to royalty. Meghan responded with practiced gratitude, her voice smooth and measured. Everything felt calm, pleasant, and polished. But beneath the surface something felt off. Kelly's eyes carried warmth, but there was a hint of something sharper, like she was studying Meghan's every word. Meghan, on the other hand, seemed overly careful, choosing each phrase like a line from a script. The audience could not sense it yet, but the conversation had a quiet tension. Every smile looked just a little too forced. Every laugh sounded slightly delayed. As they continued talking, Meghan began steering the discussion toward her projects and achievements, subtly turning the spotlight fully on herself. Kelly listened, nodding politely, but the glint in her eyes suggested she was not entirely impressed. The crowd cheered and clapped at Meghan's polished answers, unaware that Kelly was growing more cautious with each response. From the outside, it was a picture-perfect talk show moment, two famous women chatting on a brightly lit stage. But to anyone paying close attention, the atmosphere was shifting. Kelly's tone stayed polite, yet her words began carrying small hints of resistance. It was as if she sensed the performance behind Meghan's charm. Cameras kept rolling, smiles stayed in place, and the conversation moved forward, but the calmness in that room was fragile. No one knew it then, but the politeness that started this interview was about to crack. The friendly exchange between Kelly Clarkson and Meghan Markle was standing on a thin line, and before the hour was over, that line would break right in front of a live audience. Before the cameras even started rolling, the tension between Kelly Clarkson and Meghan Markle had already been building. It was not a random pairing. Fans knew that Kelly had always been outspoken about honesty and staying grounded, while Meghan had a history of being accused of image control and media manipulation. That contrast alone was enough to make this interview feel unpredictable. By the time Meghan stepped onto Kelly's set, her reputation was complicated. She had been praised by some for breaking free from royal traditions, but many others saw her as someone who used the media for her own benefit. Her departure from the royal family had been described by some insiders as a staged move for publicity. Others believed she had simply wanted control over her narrative. Either way, Meghan had become one of the most polarizing public figures of her time. Kelly Clarkson had watched this unfold like everyone else. She had never attacked Meghan directly, but her past remarks about fake positivity and people who build brands instead of real lives had made some fans wonder who she was referring to. A few clips from her radio interviews had even resurfaced online before Meghan's visit. In one, Kelly had laughed while saying that she preferred people who were real, even when it is messy, instead of perfect and rehearsed. The internet had quickly connected those dots to Meghan. Producers knew it was risky to have both women share the same stage, but it was also perfect television. Kelly represented authenticity and effort, the self-made star who climbed her way up. Meghan represented glamour, privilege, and control. Putting them together created a natural spark, even if both were smiling for the cameras. Backstage staff members later said that Meghan had arrived with her own team, including a PR assistant who reminded the producers what questions should stay off limits. Kelly's crew took note, but they did not change the show's format. That quiet act of defiance set the tone. Kelly believed in real conversation, not pre-approved talking points, and that difference in mindset would become clear once the interview began. As fans tuned in, many already sensed that this was more than a normal celebrity interview. The online chatter had started hours before the show aired, with fans sharing clips of Kelly's earlier remarks and asking, "Will she say something?" The comment sections were full of excitement and speculation. People wanted drama, and the internet was ready to explode. This background tension created the perfect storm. Kelly had her own boundaries about honesty. Meghan had her own walls built around image control. Once they sat across from each other, it was only a matter of time before those two worlds clashed. If you are enjoying the breakdown so far, make sure you are subscribed. We post exclusive behind-the-scenes celebrity drama every week. The interview started light. Kelly kept the tone friendly, asking Meghan about her new podcast, her daily routine, and how she managed life after stepping away from royal duties. It was the kind of segment where laughter filled the air, and everything seemed perfectly controlled. But that calm energy did not last long. As Kelly was leading into a question about balancing fame and privacy, Meghan leaned forward and interrupted. She cut her off mid-sentence, smiling wide for the cameras as she said, "I think what people forget is that I never asked for attention. The media just followed me." The crowd gave a small, uncertain laugh. Kelly paused. It was not the interruption that caught her off guard, but the tone. Meghan's answer had nothing to do with the question, and her timing made it sound like she wanted to take control of the conversation. Kelly smiled, but there was a flicker in her eyes. She adjusted in her chair and replied, "Oh, absolutely, the media loves a good story. Especially when it involves people who say they do not want the spotlight." The audience gasped lightly, then broke into nervous laughter. It was a classic Kelly moment, charming on the surface but sharp underneath. Meghan blinked, caught off guard. For a second, her polished composure slipped. She let out a short laugh and tried to brush it off, saying, "Well, sometimes the spotlight follows you whether you want it or not." Her voice carried that same rehearsed calm, but Kelly's earlier comment had already shifted the energy in the room. The audience sensed it. Something real was happening. Kelly tilted her head and smiled again, her tone playful but her words firm. "That is true," she said, "but it also helps when the cameras know exactly where to find you." The crowd erupted in laughter, louder this time. The sound filled the studio, cutting through the thin layer of politeness that had covered the interview until now. Meghan smiled, but her jaw tightened. The cameras caught it instantly. She tried to recover, nodding as if the comment had not bothered her. "Well, I think everyone in this industry has to manage public attention in their own way," she said carefully. Kelly nodded, but the twinkle in her eye showed she was not backing down. "Of course," she replied, "I just think people respect honesty. It makes everything easier." That line landed harder than expected. The audience fell silent for a second, unsure whether to laugh or wait. Meghan kept her smile frozen, but the tension in her shoulders gave her away. The director cut to a wide shot, and even from a distance, viewers could see the stiffness in her posture. Kelly's smile stayed effortless, her energy calm and confident. For the rest of that segment, Meghan tried to steer the conversation back to her projects, but the rhythm was gone. Kelly had taken control without raising her voice or losing her composure. Every small gesture, every word choice showed who was in charge of the stage. When the segment ended, the studio audience clapped politely, still murmuring about what they had just seen. It was one of those rare TV moments where authenticity slipped through the performance. Kelly had stayed true to herself, using grace and wit, while Meghan's carefully built image had cracked under pressure. The cameras kept rolling, but everyone in that room knew they had just witnessed something far bigger than a routine interview. Within hours of the show airing, the internet caught fire. The clip of Kelly Clarkson's exchange with Meghan Markle began spreading across social media faster than anyone expected. On Twitter, or X as it is now called, users were posting the video with captions like, "Kelly just ended Meghan on live TV." Thousands of comments poured in within minutes, with fans debating every second of the moment. Some sided with Meghan, calling Kelly's tone too sharp, but most were cheering for Kelly. One viral post read, "This is the first time someone actually stood up to Meghan without losing their cool." That comment alone had over 100,000 likes before the day was over. TikTok users joined in next. Within a few hours, dozens of fan edits appeared, each replaying Kelly's quick response in slow motion. Some added background music to highlight the awkward silence after Kelly's line. Others zoomed in on Meghan's frozen smile, looping it again and again. The hashtag #MeghanMeetsHerMatch began trending worldwide. By nightfall, the clip had crossed several million views and was being discussed on every major celebrity page. YouTube commentary channels uploaded reaction videos, breaking down every part of the interview. Body language experts started analyzing both women, pointing out Meghan's tight jaw and Kelly's relaxed posture. They compared every facial expression, every glance, every small movement. One expert explained how Kelly's calm body language gave her control of the room, while Meghan's forced smile showed discomfort. These clips added fuel to the fire, giving audiences something new to discuss with each replay. News outlets picked up the story next. Entertainment reporters called it one of the most uncomfortable yet fascinating moments on daytime television. Articles described Kelly's composure as grace under pressure. Others said Meghan had been outperformed at her own game. Screenshots of the exchange appeared everywhere, from celebrity gossip sites to international news headlines. Fans flooded comment sections with mixed emotions. Some said they felt sorry for Meghan, saying she looked cornered. Others argued that she had needed to be challenged for once. The public was completely divided, but the conversation only kept growing. Even late-night hosts started referencing the clip, calling it the moment everyone will be talking about for weeks. By the next morning, both women's names were trending across every platform. The internet had turned a short television segment into a cultural debate. It was no longer just about a talk show interview. It had become a symbol of authenticity versus image, and Kelly Clarkson's calm words had set off a global conversation that no one saw coming. Once the camera stopped rolling, the tension on set was impossible to ignore. Audience members were still whispering about what they had just witnessed as producers rushed to wrap things up. Meghan smiled politely, thanking Kelly for having her, but the energy had shifted. The charm that had filled the first half of the interview was gone. Kelly stayed gracious, offering a warm goodbye, yet those who were in the room said her tone carried a firmness that did not need words. According to insiders who later spoke about that day, Meghan's team moved quickly the moment filming ended. Her publicist spoke to producers about reframing the tone of the episode before it aired, while her assistant reportedly asked if certain segments could be edited out. But the Kelly Clarkson show had a reputation for authenticity. The production team stood by the full version. They knew they had captured something raw and real, and they were not going to cut it down for anyone's comfort. Behind the scenes, staff members shared that Meghan's attitude had changed noticeably during commercial breaks. One crew member described her as polite but distant, saying she kept to her team and avoided unnecessary conversation. Kelly, on the other hand, was the opposite. She chatted with the audience, made light jokes, and kept the energy calm. She knew the moment had been tense, but she did not let it show. Those who work with her often describe her as someone who knows when to stay quiet and when to stand her ground. That day she did both perfectly. After the episode aired and went viral, Kelly's team was flooded with media requests. Talk shows, magazines, and online outlets all wanted her to comment. But Kelly refused to turn it into a spectacle. She did not release a statement or post about it online. Her silence only made the public more curious. Fans admired the way she handled the situation, saying she had won without ever needing to brag. Inside her circle, Kelly was calm. One close friend reportedly said that she had no regrets about the way she handled the interview. She believed that being honest and kind could exist at the same time, and that moment on live TV proved it. Her production team later confirmed that Kelly had not planned any of it. The exchange was natural, not scripted, and it revealed both women's real personalities. A few days later, Kelly opened her next show with a segment about staying true to yourself in a world that values appearances. She did not mention Meghan by name, but her words carried weight. She said, "When people show who they really are, believe them the first time. Realness never needs rehearsal." The audience clapped, knowing exactly what she meant. That single quote went viral again, spreading across social media as fans called it Kelly's graceful response. Without saying a single harsh word, she managed to close the story with dignity. While Meghan's team worked to control the narrative, Kelly simply let the truth speak for itself. After the viral clip from Kelly Clarkson's show hit the internet, Meghan Markle's team went into full crisis mode. Within hours, her public relations advisors held an emergency meeting to discuss how to manage the fallout. They knew the moment had spread too far to ignore, but they also knew any direct response could make things worse. Meghan's PR strategy has always been built around careful silence or selective storytelling. This time, she had to choose between saying nothing or trying to control the narrative. At first, her team tried to spin it. Several anonymous sources started speaking to entertainment magazines, claiming the viral exchange was taken out of context. One source said the clip had been heavily edited, and that Meghan's comments were meant to be playful, not arrogant. Another insider suggested Kelly's team had pushed the conversation to create drama for ratings. The goal was to make it seem like Meghan was the victim of bad editing, not a bad attitude. But the internet was not buying it. Millions had already watched the full, uncut segment that aired live. People could see exactly what happened, and no amount of PR talk could erase Kelly's calm reaction or Meghan's visibly uncomfortable smile. viewers had made up their minds. They believed Kelly had simply stood her ground and that Meghan had underestimated her. Meghan's fanbase tried to push back online. Loyal supporters flooded social media with hashtags defending her, saying the media was once again trying to tear her down. They argued that people were reading too much into a simple conversation. But each time they spoke up, new clips, reaction videos and side-by-side breakdowns appeared, showing every raised eyebrow and defensive tone. The more her team tried to redirect attention, the bigger the story became. Behind the scenes, it was clear Meghan's image had taken another hit. What was supposed to be a light-hearted TV moment had turned into another public debate about her personality. PR analysts said her brand of polished empathy no longer matched how people saw her. Every attempt to control her narrative now seemed calculated. And when that happens, authenticity becomes hard to recover. Royal commentators joined the conversation soon after. One of them said bluntly, "Kelly said what everyone was thinking but no one wanted to say on camera." Others noted how Kelly had managed to hold her composure while making her point, something Meghan's critics said she often failed to do. By the end of the week, the story had shifted from a talk show clash to a lesson in public image. Kelly came out of it looking confident and genuine. Meghan came out looking defensive and disconnected. And for a woman who once mastered the art of media control, that loss of public trust was more damaging than any viral clip could ever be. As the clip kept spreading, the public began to split into two very clear sides. On one hand, there were those who felt Kelly Clarkson had simply said what needed to be said. On the other, loyal Meghan Markle fans believed Kelly had crossed a line. Within just a few days, online polls showed where the majority stood. Almost 80% of respondents said they sided with Kelly. The rest said Meghan had been treated unfairly. It was not even close. That reaction shocked many people in Meghan's camp. For years, she had carefully built her image as someone misunderstood by the media. But this time, viewers did not see a victim. They saw a celebrity who seemed caught off guard by a woman who was calm, honest, and unbothered. Kelly had not shouted or attacked. She had just stood her ground, and the public respected that. Soon, celebrities began weighing in too. Some of Meghan's Hollywood friends tried to support her quietly, liking sympathetic posts or posting vague messages about kindness. But a few others seemed to back Kelly without naming names. One famous actor tweeted that authenticity is the real currency in this business, while a well-known singer shared a clip of the interview with the caption, "Respect the real ones." Those subtle moves said more than any statement could. The story did not just stay on social media. It spread to podcasts, YouTube breakdowns, and morning talk shows. Everyone was dissecting every second of the exchange. Body language experts appeared on air explaining Meghan's tight smile, crossed arms, and defensive posture. Others praised Kelly's calm tone and confident expressions, calling it a masterclass in staying composed under pressure. The more people analyzed it, the clearer the divide became. The main debate centered around one question. Was Kelly rude or was Meghan out of line? Some argued that Kelly had simply been direct, asking the kind of question any good host would ask. Others believed she should have softened her words, especially since Meghan had faced public scrutiny for years. But most agreed on one thing. The moment revealed more truth about both women than any press release or interview ever could. By the end of the week, the whole situation had turned into a bigger conversation about authenticity versus image. People were tired of carefully polished personas and rehearsed interviews. They wanted real reactions and real honesty. And in that moment, Kelly Clarkson represented that honesty. Meghan Markle, despite her best efforts, came across as someone trying too hard to manage her image. It was a reminder that in today's world, being relatable often matters more than being perfect. When the dust finally settled, what happened between Kelly Clarkson and Meghan Markle became more than just another celebrity clash. It turned into a moment that captured something bigger about fame, truth, and how the public sees authenticity today. Kelly's calm but confident response on live television stood out because it felt real. It was not rehearsed or polished. It came from a place of honesty, and that struck a chord with people who have grown tired of scripted charm and endless PR talk. For many, that exchange symbolized a clash between two worlds. On one side, Meghan represented the carefully curated image, where every word feels managed and every gesture looks planned. On the other side was Kelly, the American everywoman who built her career on raw talent and unfiltered honesty. When their energies collided, the difference was impossible to ignore. The conversation around that moment grew into something much larger. People online began to talk about how celebrities often control their narratives, shaping every story to protect their image. Viewers said Kelly's response reminded them that the audience still values sincerity over perfection. In a world of filters, scripts, and rehearsed empathy, one genuine reaction stood out more than any media campaign ever could. Even those who support Meghan had to admit that Kelly's approach reflected how many people feel about celebrity culture today. Viewers are tired of being sold polished versions of reality. They want something human. And that is what made Kelly's reaction powerful. It was not about shaming or embarrassing anyone. It was about defending authenticity in an environment where it often gets lost. In the end, this was not really about a talk show or a viral clip. It was a reflection of how much the public still craves honesty. Kelly Clarkson reminded everyone that being real still matters, and that humility and truth will always connect more deeply than any carefully planned story ever could.